Hello and welcome. This is episode 13. And of course, for those concerned about doing something with 13 in it, surely you jest. The format of the show is I am Alan, I'm the host, and it features April Crawford, who's a full-body open deep trance channel, a true full-body open deep trance channel, and a best-selling author, 10 books on Amazon. Check them out. And VERONICA, which is our name for a causal plane entity, and we gave her that name because when she first came in, she was not into labels and said just pick a name. Now everybody that we talk to in the cosmos knows who VERONICA is. So the format is basically that April will say a few things about her life, whatever, and then we'll bring in VERONICA and I'll pose subjects, and then at the end, VERONICA will give her message to you and the world. So I'm going to hand the phone to April right now.
Hi, everyone. This is my little time of the program. It's April. And I remember last week I was talking about how past lives can influence young people and how the young people can remember them really well. I told you a story last week about my niece who remembered us riding horses together. This week, I want to talk about my nephew. Now, of course, my niece and nephew are all grown up now. But when they were younger, especially under the age of 5, both of them exhibited quite a few traits that were a bit unusual. Some people might have glossed over them and said, oh, they're just have a vivid imagination. But because of the work I was doing at the time when they were like under 5, I was paid special attention to it. My nephew went to a Catholic school, as we all did when we grew up in Michigan. And I can remember coming home and taking my niece and him out for dinner or something, and we started talking. And I said, well, how's school? And he looks across the table at me and he goes, man, he says, I've been in big trouble. I said, well, how much big trouble could a 5-year-old be in school? I said, what have you done? And he said, well, you know, Aunt April, you know how it is when you die and then you go think about it for a while, and then you get born again, and you get another chance to fix you didn't do right the last time? And stunned with my jaw hanging on the ground, I said, well, yeah, I kind of know about that. Well, I made a mistake. I said, well, I don't see what do you mean made a mistake? He said, well, in religion class, this sister, Mary Francis was telling us that you die, and you go to heaven, and you stay there. And he says, I know that's not right. That's just simply not right. So I raised my hand and I told her so. And she told me to stop talking. And I said, well, why? This is a 5, 6-year-old. He's like a first grade. And she says, because that's not true. That's not true. You don't die, think about it, come back. You don't do that. And he insisted that she was wrong. So he got himself into a little bit of trouble. He didn't get belligerent because he was a really sweet kid, but he definitely let Sister Mary Alfonso know that she was dead wrong. And I found it a bit amusing because here's this, young little boy sitting across from me telling me, like, well, you know how that is. And like it was just so matter of fact and simple to him. He also exhibited when he was like 2 or 3, he was very fascinated with feet. He would always say, let me take a look at your foot. So he would want you to take your shoe off and your sock off, and he would examine my foot like a podiatrist would. And he'd say, does it hurt here? He'd push on something like, gosh, it did hurt when you pushed there. And he would say, oh, your bones are misaligned here. They need to be, you should walk differently. I mean, this is like a 2.5, 3-year-old telling me about my feet, like a podiatrist. And so I firmly believe that his life, maybe previous to it or somewhere in his history, he was a foot doctor because he knew just too much about the foot. He knew the names of the bones. He knew everything. And he was like 2.5, 3. He was just going into nursery school, and he loved to examine feet. He says, oh, you're not standing straight on your foot, you're leaning out. Oh, you're not standing straight on your foot, you're leaning in. If you stand straight, your back's not going to hurt. What 2.5, 3-year-old talks like that? So I'm a firm believer in, children do remember their past lives, and as you get deeper into the culture, you tend to lose it. Or you get so involved in the current moment that those thoughts sort of recede way to the back and you don't think about them again. Because I've had a lot of people say to me, well, if past lives are there, why don't we remember? And I think we do. But we get so involved and so engrossed up to our chins in the denseness of the current reality that it's pushed to the side. So that's my story for the week. I just wanted to tell you about my nephew and his past life stuff.
Thank you, April. And now we shall wait for Veronica to make her grand entrance, which will be just a few seconds because she knows we do these shows. I hope. Here she is. No question about it. Okay, Veronica, I have a number of, comments and questions from readers and listeners. And here's one from Frank. He says, I have a question about human souls. And he has two follow-up questions related. When does the soul enter the human form?
The soul enters the human form at random times. There is no standard. Some souls like to have the whole process from embryo through the utero to coming into the physical reality. They like to experience that. But there are some who maybe have done it. Maybe an older soul says, I've been there, done that. I don't really need to come in until it's almost time to be delivered. And there are also, on occasion, there are moments where the soul doesn't come in until after the birth. So there is no standard answer to that question.
Thank you, Veronica. And, Frank's follow-up question is, can a human live without a soul? ? If so, was there a time where humans had hive souls like animals?
The human experience has always been one of delicacy. It always has been individual. The hive mind kind of participation simply does not exist for the type of participation that is human. It is most impossible for the human body to function and move without electromagnetic energy running through it. And the electromagnetic energy is a result of the soul being present in the body. Now, there may be some times where, the soul has left the body. Let's say someone's in a coma or something, and the soul has left the body, and then the body is still functioning. But it's usually manually being functioned. So we would say no. The physical body needs the electromagnetic energy to animate it and make it move. So it is the soul that operates everything.
This other question, which was hive souls, which are attributed to certain wild animals. Personally, I think that animals that have close relations with people have a different path than wild animals.
Hive souls do have a place in existence. There are certain types of energy that prefer the cohabitation with other energies. There are certain animal groups that are definitely that way. Human simply is not. The hive soul mentality usually means that if you leave and you can come back into it almost immediately and get back into the energy flow of the collective rather than doing a singular thing.
Okay, Veronica, and I will not make a snarky comment about people who like to be part of a flock instead of individuals, but here's the next question. If I can find it. This is about dreams, and a lot of people ask about dreams, and I know that I could say a lot of things about dreams. But this one is, in our life review, this is from Ross, in our life review, will we want to examine our dreams? And that's the question. And then the other question is, how about those dreams we have but can no longer remember?
When you are in between lives, the dream state will feel almost like the regular linear state that you've just come from. There is great validity in the dream state activity. It simply isn't as solid as a physical linear moment. The ability to use the dream state is one of a highly evolved soul, and remembering the dreams isn't all that necessary while you're in, conscious focus in physical linear reality. You don't need to remember all the nuances of a dream. What you do need to remember is that the energy of the dream can help enhance and perhaps contour your physical linear moment. So let's say you have a problem that you're trying to work out, and you keep running into walls, brick walls. And anyone knows if you run into a brick wall, it isn't a pleasant. You can go into the dream state and work out these things and take what you have learned from that back into the physical focus and use it to your advantage to evolve yourself. Even if you're having a really hard time, you can work it out in the dream state. And that makes sometimes living the linear life a bit easier for those who might be having trouble with it.
Thank you, Veronica. And I have a follow-up question, which is kind of for myself, and that is, how about people who have these extremely vivid, multidimensional dreams, like where they think in their dreams, they anticipate things in their dreams that may or may not happen? I personally think that some of those dreams are, you're actually going to another place, and there's other individuals, non-physical, and that maybe that's their natural state that you're in. Because in my case, I've had stuff that there's no possibility that it came from me.
The dream state offers many formats to follow. You can use them to move through difficult moments that you're trying to make a decision about or learn from. But it also can be interdimensional travel, that you are able, while you're in the unconscious state, to lift up and out of the body and move into other dimensional space, which can be extremely colorful and exciting, if you so choose it to be. And some of you are a bit more colorful than others.
Thank you, Veronica. And let's see what else we got on the question thing. Karma. This might be karma a little bit as far as balance and so forth, but I think it's worth more detailed discussion about what is karma. And here's the question that triggered that. Is karma something that only occurs on this planet, or does it occur in other places too? Also, is karma something that is strictly settled in physical reality, or can we balance it while we are in spirit?
It depends upon where the imbalances come from. If you are in an unbalanced state that is more spiritual, then you can do that in a spiritual manner. If you have created a participation in physical reality that is unbalanced, then you have to unwind that karmic energy in the physical.
Thank you, Veronica. Now, this next question is, for those who don't know, I'm a business guy. I was in business and negotiating really big deals in the entertainment industry. So I'm kind of pro individuality and making money. So here's where is this so I can just find it? I'm actually searching an iPhone right now that has all the questions on it. And Oh, here it is, all caps. Bobby says, notice I didn't say negative attachment to money, but Bobby says, this is what I would love to know. Do we have, in this thing in life, we all need money. But why is it that some people have so much money and some have little or none? Some people have too much money, an opinion started this fact, that they will never use it in this lifetime. Why so much greed? Thanks, Bobby.
One must realize that each of you come into physical reality to experience something. Some of you come in to experience emotional distress. Some come in to experience emotional balance. Some come in with plenty of money, but maybe they have other things that are going on that are equally tedious and tiresome. And to have the money thing out of the way for them is a better moment for them. The idea that there's not enough money, that there is money, that there's too much money, it's all very linear and not something that should be focused upon. We think that each of you come in with certain desires, certain needs, and we think if you live harmoniously and you keep yourself balanced, you will have what you need. Some are not here to, participate with money. They would rather have that just be taken care of, and maybe they have other issues going on. So it's impossible to define yourself by money in the culture, although the culture likes to do that. What you need to define yourself by is, what do you need, truly? And we think all of you, if you put it in that perspective, instead of saying, oh, I need money, I need money, I need money, what you need to think about is, what do I need to function comfortably in this reality? And some of you need more money than others. But the culture needs to be adjusted a bit in its thoughts, and all of you need to decide, what do I really need? Because we think a lot of you have stuff you don't need. You just keep collecting stuff. And it isn't about being a collector in the life. It's about finding the harmony and the balance that you need. Sometimes that includes money. Sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't mean you're lacking if you don't have as much money as, say, the neighbor does. So it's not a race. It's not a competition. All of you should seek your internal harmony and ask for what you truly need, what will truly give you comfort. And don't do it, extravagantly. Just think, this is what I need. And the universe wants to provide for you. So instead of qualifying or quantifying the whole thing, decide what would bring harmony to your internal being. Truly. Not artificially, but truly.
Thank you, Veronica. And naturally, I need to add my own as, business guy. And that is, I was told on numerous occasions by those more knowledgeable than me that the universe doesn't care what you want. The universe does not care what you want. It only wants to give it to you. Okay, so here's another one, another question from Katie, and she's interested in parallel and concurrent lives and spiritual guides and how that all fits. And her basic question is, do spirit guides help you in all of your parallel and concurrent lives or just in this one physical life?
Yes, you have guides in your parallel and concurrent lives. Sometimes it's the same one. Sometimes the circumstance in a parallel life can be way different. And let's say the current guide, Michael that you have in this life, wouldn't have the expertise to get you through a parallel life, which is like the life you have, only with different dramatics attached to it. So there can be a multitude of spirit guides that help through the parallel life process. Definitely in a concurrent life, which means it's all different personality and dramatics, that you would definitely have a different set of guides. And yes, there are a multitude of guides, and once you have one, you have them. They don't go anywhere.
Thank you, Veronica. And let's see, this next question is, it says, again, you have stated that past lives, future lives, present lives, all are happening at the same time. Difficult concepts, time, is it not? I would have to assume this means that in one of those instances, for lack of a better word, we all have already achieved all our goals and learning and have reached that perfect divinity. Correct? Question mark. I consider this to be one of those questions about growth, like how could you have growth when everything's happening at once? Didn't you already achieve your growth?
Well, because you all are linear beings, and you all are adhering to a timeline of past, present, future. That is the perspective that you define yourself by while being in physical form. The layering, like a stack of pennies, all the lives that you have, and they're all happening at the same time, is indeed true. But because you're all very anchored and mired in the concept of past, present, future and the timeline, it's rather like a disconnect. It doesn't matter if it's all happening at the same time from a spiritual point of view, because everything that you need to learn and do is happening simultaneously. It is only in the linear reality that it looks like past, present, future. Once you get out of that, because all of you are up to your chins in it, you become then aware of the multiplicity of your lives. And there's not much more we can say on the subject other than it is true, and it is an extremely difficult concept. Now, those who do out-of-body work and those who travel dimensionally probably have a little bit better feel for parallel concurrent lives, the past, present, future lives. We'd say if you're truly interested in the subject, you should maybe try some out-of-body experience, because then that would allow you to lift up and out and observe it from the outside rather than try to define it from the inside where it's this vast arena of energy. So if you're truly interested in how that works, decide you're going to do some, out-of-body work. That could be helpful.
Thank you, Veronica. And with regard to time, which is such an interesting subject, and it's been said by some I've talked to that time is an interesting thing. I recommend that you, if you're really interested in this, that you read some of the early Seth books at least. But basically what Seth said was like attracts like, and that the power is in the present. So we're all in his present moment, even though it's expanding. So, I don't usually, I never endorse third parties except for the Seth material, and so read about that. Okay, so here's some questions which are actually from Oprah Winfrey on her show Super Soul Sunday, which, if you're interested in this stuff, you might want to look at. And number one is, Veronica, what is a lesson that has taken you the longest to learn?
Well, there are many lessons that we have experienced along the way. But we think, if we were to be extremely honest, the one where we found the worth in our participation, the value that we brought to the table. Now, we're talking back when we were still incarnating and still participating in the cycle of reincarnation. There were often times where we would live through a whole life dramatically and come at the end of it and say, well, what did I accomplish? Well, nothing. Well, what did I learn? Nothing. Well, where am I going to go next? I don't know. And that took us a long sense of linear time to get past the I don't knows, the I don't cares, the I'm not sure what's going on here. I didn't really accomplish anything. We think that the time when we started really understanding the power of our energy and the power of our soul, that we could advance and we could create and we could have an accomplishment in life, but not defined linearly. We feel that the hardest thing for any energy to learn is the basis and core of their value. That is a hard lesson to learn because you're in linear reality. You get all caught up in the dramatics and the nonsense of it, and you walk away from it feeling very self-deprecating. That's a hard thing to get over. And we admit, when we were in the reincarnational cycle, that was a huge one. But once we understood our value and moved forward with that concept, then the incarnational process started to become more valuable, that there was progress, and not necessarily linear progress. we started to understand things and understand our worth as a soulful energy having a linear experience. So we think, yes, that's probably the hardest one for most. It certainly was for us.
Thank you, Veronica. I've got two more questions from Oprah. But for those who don't know who Oprah Winfrey is, because this broadcast is available worldwide, a lot of different countries, and certainly the podcast. It's kind of a big deal in the United States. I mean, she started the entire network, the Oprah Winfrey Network, because she was interested in these kind of spiritual questions, and her show, Super Soul Sunday, is fantastic. You should get it if you can. Her second question is, in this series, what advice would you give to your younger self?
We would tell our younger self to never give up. No matter what is thrown in your path, no matter what you stumble over, there's always the opportunity to pick yourself up and dust yourself off. Nothing is ever lost. You can find it again. And that can be your integrity, that can be your sense of worth, that can be your sense of self. It's all redeemable. And that is something you all need to remember, no matter what occurs, no matter if you fall flat on your face. You get up, you dust yourself off, and you say, I'm going to begin again. That is the beauty of being in physical reality and the beauty of the reincarnational process. There's always hope.
Thank you, Veronica. And let's see. Here's number 3 from Oprah. What is the best advice you were ever given?
Well, that depends on whether you're talking linearly or spiritually. But we think in linear reality, the best advice we were ever given was to love ourselves, no matter what. To not define ourselves by others, but to find that one seed of beauty within ourselves and love it, nurture it, and allow it to grow.
Thank you, Veronica. And the final Oprah question is, again, on her show Super Soul Sunday, was, who has been your greatest spiritual teachers, who have been, plural, your greatest spiritual teachers, if any?
We have many energetic friends and acquaintances that have helped us fiercely through difficult times. That is why we do what we do now, so that we may pay it forward to the linear who desperately need the help. There have been many energies over the eons that we have participated both linearly and spiritually that have mentored us, loved us, no matter what, and if we fell flat on our face, still loved us. So we say it is seeking and finding the energy that loves you no matter what. That is the greatest gift that you could find.
Thank you, Veronica. And now we enter into the next segment, the final segment, which I'm going to preempt my 2-hour explanation of my vast knowledge of the universe, consciousness, and things that like 3 and 4 people in the entire planet would be interested in hearing. And I'm going to turn the phone over to Veronica so she can give her message to you and the world.
In a world of turmoil, in a space of chaos, it is difficult to find the calm and the silence one needs to steady oneself. We would say create every day a small little space where you can be to allow your energy to prosper and expand without limitations. There are many things occurring in the linear environment that are devastating and just plain awful, we would say. All of you have to rise above that and not succumb to the fear of it, not succumb to the oh my God moment, but look at it and say, what can I do to strengthen the reality so that these types of things simply will be impossible to perpetrate? I'm not going to run in fear. I'm not going to be judgmental. I'm not going to be, feeling like nothing I can do is worth anyone's time. I don't have enough energy. I'm one person. How can I do anything? We'd say you all individually can do something. If each one of you decides today that you're not going to be fearful, that you're not going to run, that you're not going to allow others to perpetrate atrocities that are just simply not acceptable, is something that you can do. Each one of you individually, take your quiet meditative time and say, no, we're not accepting that. We are uniting as the beautiful energies we are and the soulful energies that we are, and we're not going to put up with this. So we'd say each of you need to be strong. Each of you need to keep both feet on the ground and not be so, we'll say, discombobulated, that's a big word, when something does occur. Stay strong, stay focused, and most of all, stay positive and loving. Send that energy out to the world. There are many who are participating at a subpar level. Send them the energy too, so that maybe they will have an epiphany and become better participants. The world at the moment is in chaos, but you are the calm. You are the breeze that blows through the evening after a warm day, that cools everyone down, that everyone seeks. Be the cool breeze in a chaotic world. That's the best thing that all of you can do.
Thank you, Veronica, and that concludes the interesting part of this radio broadcast. Now, I'll just mention that if anybody is interested in learning more about Veronica and April, you can just go to Amazon.com, search April Crawford, go to April Crawford's website, aprilcrawford.com, and just note that you can, and there are many people who by telephone and in person talk to Veronica one-on-one, and it's pretty easy to do, and in my personal opinion, way too inexpensive, but April will not let me raise prices for the last 20 years. So you can find out how to contact and have a direct conversation with Veronica one-on-one by going to either Amazon or aprilcrawford.com. And in the meantime, I will just say, welcome, and until next time.